Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by Maxon's booth. My name is Dave Glanz and I am excited to be here. I'm a motion graphics designer based out of Washington, D.C. I'm currently the senior broadcast designer at iCandy DC, which is right near the Discovery Channel building in Silver Spring, a couple miles outside of D.C. It's a small group of people with a high volume of work, and let's take a look at the kind of stuff I do.
These are the Daves I know. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. David Hoffner, he works in my dad's store. He's worked here for 12 years, he'll probably work here for more. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. Dave Gord, I've known since I was 6. In grade 8 he broke his leg, so we got drunk and sick. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. Some of them are Davids,
but most of us are Daves.
They all have their own hands, but they come from different moms. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. Dave Jadisky, man, this cat can swing. He weighs almost 50 pounds and he delivers my paper on time. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know. Dave Capisano, I hardly know him. These are the Daves I know, I know. These are the Daves I know.
We are the Daves he knows, he knows. We are the Daves he knows. Some of us are Daves, but most of us are Daves. We all have our own hands, but we come from different palms.
These are the Daves I know, I know.
We are the Daves he knows, he knows.
These are the Daves.
Any Kids in the Hall fans out there? Thank you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, there's a lot I want to cover, so I'm going to have to kind of move quickly. I've been working with Cinema 4D for about 4 years. It's one of the few tools I use every week. And I do a lot of work for Discovery Channel and History Channel and Travel Channel. But a few things I wanted to go over today. Let's start with this. This is an ad sales piece I worked on for Discovery, and let's take a look.
Ground fresh, brewed fresh, and made just the way you like it. Storm Chasers is sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin' Coffee.
All right, so there's a lot of cool stuff in here that Cinema helped me get done. One of them is actually this tornado, which was created with particles and the hair module. I'm not going to get into that, but I just wanted to mention that. If you saw Casey's presentation, you saw a lot more complicated things going on with the hair module. What I wanted to cover was the cup falling here. How I created the cup and how I got it to fall using Cinema 4D's basic dynamics, built-in dynamics, excuse me. So let's open the first file. First, I just want to show you a quick way to create a cup. In this file, I have a spline with a lathe NURBS. The way you do this, and the way I'm going to do this right now, is to take my Bezier path tool, which you can find up here. Let's open a new file and go to my right view. I'm going to make a point here. Going to hit Option D to get rid of my axis tool. That's not working exactly how I wanted it. Try this. Come on, man. There we go. So we have a very basic shape here. I'm going to just try to even these out a little bit. Move this down. All right, so we have a basic spline for our cup. I'm going to drop it into a lathe NURBS, which you can find in the NURBS panel. And by holding down Option, I can make the spline a child of the lathe NURBS. And that's what we want. So that's the basic way to create a cup here. Also, what I want to do is grab my points. I'm working in point mode here, which you can see over here. I'm going to select all my points with this tool up here, which is the rectangle selection tool. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go to Chamfer. And I'm going to just click and drag on these points. And you can't see too much happening right now, not until I zoom in a little bit. So let's do that. You can see when I do that, I'm getting rounded edges here, which is what I wanted for my cup. And if we jump into the next file and turn on the lathe NURBS, we can take a look. We have basically what a Dunkin' Donuts cup looks like. So the next step is to take a look at what the cup looks like with texture. I'm basically just using a Dunkin' Donuts provided logo with an alpha channel slapped right on the cup. And I'm giving the scene a little bit of lighting, so let's render that and see what it looks like. I'm getting texture errors, but should still be able to see some of it. So that's looking good so far. The next step is to add coffee to my coffee cup and a little bit of liquidy motion. So let's see if the motion is in here. Not yet. The coffee is an interesting story. I spent some time trying to figure out how to create a coffee texture. Instead, I realized I was drinking a cup of coffee, and I took my iPhone, took a picture of the coffee, Photoshop, little enhancement, brought it into Cinema, put it on a disk, and that was my coffee texture, which was very easy to make. Let's see if we can isolate that. Render. Oh, it's not going to show me without the lights. So that's my basic coffee texture right there. And the next thing we need to do is to give the coffee a little liquidy motion. And let's see if we can change the mode here so we can see it better. And hit play. If you look closely, you can see there's a little bit of liquid movement happening. It doesn't need to be too realistic. I don't need to have bubbles because it's a very quick shot. And the way I did this is using the random deformer, which you can find under the MoGraph module up here. The random effector is used more with the cloner objects, but you can actually use it as a deformer. So what I did, and let's take just a quick look at how to do this. I have my object here. Let's make a cylinder. I'm going to grab a random effector, and I'm going to group these together. And I'm going to go to my random effector panel here, and click on deformer, and click on point. And when I do that, stuff starts going crazy. So you can actually change how this looks by just changing these numbers here. And right now it's not looking that great. We can actually make this an editable object and connect all these points together, but I just wanted to show you the basics of how this works. If I go into the effector random mode right here, you have a few options. You can choose a couple options that will give you animation. In this case, I think I use noise. Let's see what that looks like. Well, since there's not a lot of pieces here, you're not seeing too much happening. If I add some more geometry to this, you'll see a little bit more variation in the way this wiggles. And that's essentially what's happening with the coffee. So the next step is to take a look at what the cup looks like when it falls, because that's what we want. We want the tornado to turn into the cup. We want the cup to fall on the ground, and that's our look. So this is not cached, so it's not going to play that realistically. Let's look at that. You can take your dynamics and cache them by hitting Command D, going into Dynamics, Cache, Bake. And I think I'll come back to this after I do it. And let's play that again. So now my cup is falling. It's moving basically how I want it. And let's take a look at how that was done. Here's my cup. I'm going to right-click on the object in the Object Manager. I'm going to go to Simulation Tags, Rigid Body. And when you do that, you get this little tag here. And this gives you a lot of options, a lot of fun things to play with. I am making this object a compound collision shape. I think by default it's set to none, but I want my dynamics to affect everything in this cup. You have the option to change the mass and the density and the forces. I left everything pretty much alone in this case, so that when the cup drops, it just wiggles a little bit. I also started the cup off If we take a look at another angle here, there's a little bit of a tilt to it. You can kind of see it. That way when it falls, it doesn't just hit the ground and stay. It kind of rocks. And let's take a look at the final scene here. So the cup is falling. Well, we should bake those dynamics again, so let's go back. Bake those dynamics in this project. And I'm doing a simple camera move here, which I will review in a second. So that's basically it. That's the shot without any rendering. I'm going to pull out of my camera view here by clicking on this white, this little box here. You can click in and out of your camera very quickly. And I'm going to turn off the lights. And we're going to take a look at the camera, which is not showing up for some reason. Let's get the showing up camera. There we go. So looking at this view, you can see the camera is basically just moving in a simple arc. And the way to accomplish that is to basically just grab a spline. I'm grabbing an arc spline here. I'm going to bring that up here using my enlarge tool over here, scale tool, sorry. And I'm going to change the radius to 180 instead of 90. So now I have a full arc. And if I were to grab a camera, I could go to Create, Camera, and do right-click, Cinema 4D tags, Align to Spline. I'm going to drag my path right in there. And if I were to change its position, you can see what's happening with the spline, with the camera. You can also rotate the camera. Let's do that. So if we were to look through it by clicking on this box again and animate these keyframes here, you can see how you can get a pretty cool shot. So that's it for the Dunkin' Donuts spot. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is another channel we work with sometimes, Planet Green. Planet Green asked us to do a simple end page. An end page is basically something that appears at the end of a promo. Planet Green likes to take their logo, which is this little circle in the middle, and do creative things with it. So this was a very fast turnaround thing. This was, when I say fast turnaround, this was like 2 to 3 hours. We wanted the balloon to basically deflate and fly off into space. So here's what it looks like. So let's take a look at how that was done. I'm creating a hot air balloon quickly with a loft NURBS, which is a very handy tool for modeling quickly. And if I uncheck the loft NURBS up here in the Object Manager, you can see what it's made of. It's made of a series of circles, which I can just find in the Spline tool menu. I'm just taking a circle, change its axis here, and just duplicating it. I'm holding Command D to duplicate, and just enlarging. I hit the T key, and just do that over and over again until I have a series of splines, and I can grab them all by hitting Shift, and then dropping them into a loft NURBS by right here. Let's just drag these and drop them in here, so you can see how easy this is, how quickly you can model things. The next step is to add texture to the balloon, which I did using the Materials Manager down here. And I'm getting a simple striped look, which is what we were looking for. I also made the object editable, which you can do by clicking on this button over here or hitting the C key on the keyboard. The next step is to make my balloon deflate. So what I'm doing here is using the cloth module, and it's actually, let's just look at another file here so you can see how this works. I'm going to make a plane. I'm going to turn it on its side here, and you want to make sure when you're working with cloth that you have a lot of geometry, and right now I seem to have plenty. I'm going to make this editable, like I said, by clicking over here in the upper corner, make editable. I'm going to right-click, go to Simulation Tags, Cloth. And right now it's probably just going to fall, which is not what we want. What we want is for the cloth to look like cloth. So I'm going to grab my rectangle selection tool, make sure I'm in point mode, click on some points, and go into Dresser which if you click on the cloth tag, go into dresser, fix points is what you want. We want to click set. And when we do that, the cloth falls and the points stay, and that's essentially how cloth works. The fun part is that all these parameters are things that you can animate. And I wanted the balloon to start off with not collapsing, obviously. And I wanted to have it collapse when I wanted it to. So let's take a look at how that was accomplished. So it's falling, it's hitting the ground. It's not really deflating until frame 20, 25. I am using these parameters right here, gravity, wind, and wind strength, which you can animate by right-clicking, animation, and adding keyframes. So right now, there's not much happening. It's starting to deflate a little bit, but right here, if I zoom in on the timeline, you can see. Let's try to get a little closer. I'm jumping forward from no wind strength to a strength of 2. I'm adding more gravity. I'm adding different wind direction. And what I'm also doing is taking this floor object, which I turned off in the viewer, and making it a collider for the cloth. So if I right-click, I can go to Simulation Tags, and collider, cloth collider is what you want. And that will give you something for the cloth to hit. So if I play, you can see it's hitting. Another thing that's nice that works well with cloth is the Cloth NURBS module, which you can find up here under Simulate Cloth, Cloth NURBS. What this does is adds more geometry to your cloth. It also lets you add some thickness if you want. So if I were to make this 3, for instance, and we were to take a look at it from a different angle, let's turn off the floor. You can't really see unless there's it's at a different angle here. Let's just pump that up a little bit more. Cloth NURBS, let's make that 20. Well, you can see what it's doing is it's increasing the size. If I put it down to 0, it's less, but it's actually adding thickness to the object. And this is the finished piece. I'm doing another camera move, just like I did in the last thing we saw with the coffee cup. Starts off above and just moves to the side. And the other thing that's going on here is a little bit of keyframe animation, which I'm not going to go over. The basket and the strings were animated after all this was done. And the rest was done in After Effects. So this was about 3 hours of work, and Cinema 4D made it very easy for me to get this done. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is another thing done for Discovery Channel. This one was an end page, and Discovery does a lot of work with us for promos. And this promo was for a show called World's Toughest Truckers, and this was one of the end pages that we did. I know that was very fast, but we'll take a closer look at what was actually going on here at the beginning. This is about 1.5 seconds, and it needed to look fairly realistic, this little exhaust pipe here, with the smoke coming out and the lid flapping. Here's a longer version of the same thing. I have steam coming out, and I have a realistic animation of the cap flapping up and hitting the exhaust pipe. And we actually wanted to do a little research to make sure we're having the right look here. So my good buddy Justin Canner at Eye Candy, where I work, helped me find some reference footage, and this was a pretty good reference. The cap is flapping, smoke's coming out. It's pretty much what I was looking to do. So let's see how that was done. This is the stack, which is very simple to create. This is another project, by the way, that only had a couple hours. You don't always have a lot of time in broadcast animation. Sometimes you have to turn things around in just a couple hours. And so this was what it looked like. And all I'm using here is a Loft NURBS with circles again, basically, and a chrome texture. The next thing that we wanted to create was the cap, which was also created using Loft NURBS. And we have a little more detail going on here. We have a spring. We have something for the cap to connect to. And right now there's no animation going on because there's no physics enabled. So that's the next step. What we want to do is think about how this cap needs to interact with the stack. I want the stack to be a solid object that's not going to really do anything. I want something to hit it. I want the cap to be moving, and I want this part here, this little connector guy, I want this to be what the cap is connected to. So just like before with the cup, we added a rigid body tag by going to simulation, rigid body. For the cap, I want to go to simulation collider body, so that way it has something to collide to. It's not the same thing as a cloth collider, it's different. So once I have that done, let's see what happens. This is not really what I want to happen. This is the cap going crazy. This is the dynamics and physics intersecting. What I want to happen is for the cap to be attached to this guy up here. And lucky for us, Cinema 4D has a way to do that. And let's take a look at how to do that. You have the connector object, which you can find up here under Simulate, Dynamics Connector. And a connector does exactly what it says. It connects two objects. You can click on, what you do is you click on your connector. You have object A, you have object B, and in this case I wanted the cap to be my object A, so I dragged it right in here. And I click back on there, and I clicked on the top little holder guy, and you drag it right in here, object B. And when that happens, that's not what I want to happen. Let's close that. And do it again. Okay, so you can see what's happening is the cap is just kind of flapping a little bit. There's nothing really exciting going on because it's just attached. There's no forces at work here. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like when we add some forces. Cinema 4D is able to use a lot of the forces that come with thinking particles and the particle stuff. You can find that by going to Simulate Particles, and you have emitter at the top, and under here you have a lot of options. You have attractors, deflectors, destructors, gravity, rotation, etc. In this case, I just wanted the attractor because I wanted the cup to be attracted and just kind of move up. And so I just added that. You can just go to Simulate, Particles, Attractor, and it'll just add it to your object manager. And I wanted the strength to start off as something relatively low, and I'm animating it. If you watch the numbers up in the corner here, you can see I'm animating it up over 1,000. And when I do that, the cap does this nice kind of flapping motion, and gives me basically the look I was going for. So that is, let's take a look at this. This is basically the angle we were going for. The next thing I want to talk about. The next thing was for the History Channel. I worked for a while on the show called Modern Marvels, which you may have seen. The show, this particular season, was produced at Half Yard Productions in Bethesda, and I worked on 4 shows. And my first task was to create graphics for a show called Coin Operated. And let's take a look at a trailer that I cut together with some of the graphics that are in this scene.
Then you think again, sound of silver talk to me, makes you want to feel like a teenager, until you remember the feelings of a real life emotional teenager. Then you think again, sound of silver talk to me, makes you want to feel like a teenager.
Okay, so there's a lot going on there. What I wanted to actually look at here was this wheel guy here, and in particular this part right here where the coins are falling through and hitting this little trigger. Can't really see that unless I move this guy. You can see the coins falling and hitting that trigger. I'm using a lot of the same stuff that we just looked at, but let's take a look really quickly at what the scene looked like from the beginning. I started off with this simple object that I created to represent the kind of Ferris wheel. What this is supposed to do is show you what happens when you drop a coin in a jackpot. It's supposed to, it's sorted, it goes through the Ferris wheel thing, and then it's dropped out. The trigger goes off and lets the machine know how many coins are going through. And this is kind of an exaggerated version of what happens inside one of these things. So you can see it's just spinning around right now, nothing's happening. And this was created very simply, also using Cinema 4D's MoGraph module, and I'll show you really quickly how to create some of this. So I grab a cube, up here under my parametric objects. And I'm going to move this up. I'm going to grab the sides, make this a little more narrow. I'm going to go up to MoGraph. I'm going to hold down Option, and I'm going to click on Cloner. And right away, I have a few clones. It's very easy to add many objects to a scene. Over here, I have Count. I can just instantly create clones by just dragging the slider, punching in a number here. Let's keep that at something like 9 for now. You also have the option to, you have different modes, ways of cloning. You have object, linear, radial, and grid. For this, I want radial, and I'm getting generally what I need here. Not exactly what I need. Let's change the way the cube looks. If I do that, you can see this is essentially how this little part was created in just like a few seconds. So what we want to look at now is the coin. So if we play this, you'll see that the coin is interacting with those objects created in MoGraph. It's falling through my little slot. And the coin was just created with a simple cylinder and some texturing. And I'm adding my rigid body tag here by going to Simulation Rigid Body again. And the coin wheel is a collider object. Next, what we need is something for the coin to hit, a trigger. And I'm using basically the same thing that we saw in the last scene. Coin's going to hit this trigger. The trigger is two objects that are connected together, which I'm using connector object again for. The problem is that the trigger now is just going crazy. I want it to just kind of hit and go back up. I don't want it to just fly all around. Excuse me. So the way to do this is to add another element of the dynamics module, which is called spring. And you can find that under Simulate Dynamics Spring. And it does just what it says. You take two objects, connect them together, and when there's dynamics applied, there'll be some springy action. So let's take a look. So you can see what's happening is I have this block attached to the trigger. The spring works very in a similar way to the connector object. You have two things, object A and B. In this case, I made a bumper. I'm calling it bumper. And I'm connecting it by dragging it into object A, and I'm taking the trigger, which I want the spring to be connected to, and dragging it into the other window. And when I do that, you have the option to change the rest length and the stiffness and the damping. I didn't mess with that too much here. I just left it mostly at default. But you can see what's happening. You can actually see the spring. The spring does not render. I'm sure there's a way to do that, but we don't want that. Here's what it looks like when it's rendered. I'm actually turning off the bumper, and I'll show you very quickly how I did that. You would take your object here, go to Cinema 4D tags, compositing. You get this little compositing tag. I'm unchecking scene by camera, and that gets rid of the block. And here's the final scene. Not the final scene, but close enough. One quick thing I wanted to review is how this coin is falling. Right now, the coin is falling pretty much how I wanted, but when I first did this, I felt like the coin was a little bit too heavy. So if you go into your dynamics tag here, go into force, rotational mass is what we want to look at. By default, this is set to 100. So let's see what that looks like when it falls. So it's hitting the trigger a little harder than I wanted it to. It's a little too much force. You may want it to play that way, but the producer in this case didn't want it. So I turned this down to 50, and the coin is a little bit lighter. So it falls a little bit differently. So that was the effect I was going for. The next thing I want to show you is another thing I did for Modern Marvels. This was a show called Rice, and let's take a quick look at the trailer.
Jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton, pick a bale of, pick a bale of, pick a bale a day. Drag along, pick sack, pick a bale of cotton. Drag along, pick sack, pick a bale a day. Pick a bale of, pick a bale of, pick a bale of cotton. Pick a bale of, pick a bale of, pick a bale a day. Jump down,
So all this stuff was created in Cinema 4D, composited in After Effects.
Pick a bale of, pick a bale of cotton. Jump down, turn around, pick a bale a day.
And each one of these graphics were probably anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds. And they were actually a lot of fun to work on. What I want to talk about is just one part of this, and that is this scale right here. You can see what's happening here. I have a bag falling on scale, and a second bag, and additionally, I have the bags kind of squishing as they fall. So they hit the thing. You can see in the background the bag has a squishy motion. We're going to get into dynamics again here to show you how I did that. Here's the scale, once again using the connector object to connect the base to the scale itself. And this was created just using some basic objects. This is actually a more simple version. What we wanted to happen is have a bag that looked like this. The original idea was to actually have 25 pounds of rice just fall on the scale, and then another 200 pounds fall on the other side. But it was taking too much time to figure out how to get the rice to stack properly. So we thought, well, why don't we just add a bag that says 25 and a bag that says 200? It's that kind of a quick solution to the problem here. So I have my bag. It has a dynamics tag on it. And the secret here is that if you click on the tag and you go to soft body, you can click on made of polygons and lines, and that is going to enable soft body dynamics here. So when the bag falls, let's try to take a closer look. The bag falls, hits the scale. You can see the squishiness going on here. And that is what we want to do for both bags. So let's open the next one. We have 200 pounds on the other side. Let's zoom out of the timeline here. Go back to the beginning, click play. You can see the 25-pound bag falls. And in a second, the 200-pound bag is going to fall. And that's another nice thing about the dynamics in Cinema 4D is that you can easily control when things are happening. So if I go back to the beginning here, we're going to look at the 200-pound bag. And I wanted this to fall just a couple seconds after the 25-pound bag fell. And the way I'm doing this is by clicking on the tag, going to force, and using this follow position parameter here. Follow position basically is going to take into account anything that's animated in your object when it's calculating the dynamics. And I'm just setting this to 8 for no particular reason here, but I want this to go from 8 to 0 quickly so that when if I go here in the timeline, you can see it says 8 and then 0. When that happens, it's going to let my bag fall. And it's letting me delay the dynamics, which is exactly what I want. In the next scene, I'm adding a little bit more to it to kind of force the bags to do what I want. These dynamics have already been cached, which is why things are happening so quickly. And the reason the bag is delayed here is that I was working with a voiceover, and the voiceover was telling me basically when to have this bag drop. And another thing that's going on here is I'm using bumpers, just like I used with the springs in the last scene. I'm using a couple spheres here where I'm turning them off so you can't see them. I'll go in here, spheres. And you click on here on the compositing tag. I have scene by camera checked off so that when it's rendered, let's get rid of those texture errors. You're not going to see these bumpers. The scale is going to look like it has some kind of internal mechanism that's preventing it from hitting the floor. I also have bumpers on the outside that are letting me basically do what I want with the bags. They're keeping the bags from bouncing outside of the scene. And it's also allowing this bag to fly up and kind of hit the scale in the way I wanted to. I thought it was more fun that way, rather than having it fly off to the side over here. I have it kind of coming back and hitting the scale. So the next project I wanted to talk about is something I'm a little more passionate about. It's for the American Film Institute. I was a film studies major, so there's a festival in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is just a couple miles away from D.C. And this is the third commercial I've done with them. And it's the Documentary Film Festival, and this is a commercial that we created at Eye Candy to promote it. And here it is.
It starts with an idea, a passion for a story. It grows, changes, and along its journey, the vision takes shape. Where it ends up is here. The AFI Discovery Channel Silver Docs Documentary Festival. 7 days, 100 films, June 20th through 26th. Tickets at silverdocs.com.
So again, there's a lot going on. That whole thing was created in Cinema 4D. But what I want to talk about was this logo build at the end right here, the AFI, which basically the idea here was to bring in all the elements from previously in the scene, the cardboard textures, the erector set looking stuff here, the gears, all that stuff I wanted to basically bring together at the end here and form the logo. And you can see how that's happening. So let's quickly jump into how the A was created. The A is basically an extruded object here. You can import splines into Cinema 4D very easily by going into your object manager, go into File, Merge Objects. You need to create something in Adobe Illustrator and save it out as Adobe Illustrator 8, version 8, and that is what is going to import properly into Cinema. So I have my spline here. I have my extrude NURBS, which I can find up here. Object, I'm sorry. Modeling, no. NURBS, extrude NURBS. Making the spline a child, turn it back on, we have our 3D object instantly. The next step is to take this object and to break it up into parts. So I've made it editable, just like we saw in some of the previous scenes. And what I want to do here is have all of these polygons separate. And that's pretty easy to do. I'm going to jump in here. I'm also going to get some texture here. I created a simple cardboard texture, which is not showing up. But let's look at how these polygons were separated. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to go into polygon mode here. I'm going to right-click on the object. I'm going to disconnect all these points, if I can find it. Disconnect. Disconnect down here. I'm going to uncheck Preserve Groups and hit OK. And now each one of these polygons is a separate object. I'm going to go into Mesh, Conversion, and Polygon Groups Objects, and instantly I have all of these objects here separated so that I can work with them separately, which is exactly what I want. I want them all to flip on separately. I open the next file here. The animation of this was relatively simple. It's just each polygon coming on and flipping and rotating. The way that was accomplished was if you click on, right-click on the object here, the little polygon. I'm going to go to Cinema 4D Tags Display, and that gives you this little eyeball guy here, and gives you the option to turn on and off visibility. I'm just animating that parameter from 0 to 100, and that's turning on and off the polygon. And I am just animating using the bank parameter over here to give my polygon some animation. I'm also adding the cloth NURBS again, just like we looked at before. When I showed you how it could add thickness to an object, that's exactly what I wanted. So I can find it under Simulate, Cloth NURBS. And if you go into the object over here, I added a thickness of -3 in this case, but you can do -50. You can make it as big as you want, or as small as you want. You can add subdivisions to this to make the geometry more complex. For this, simple was fine. And once I did this once, I basically just had to repeat it over and over again. And let's stretch this out a little bit so you can see it better. So now I have all my polygons coming on separately and slowing down at the end here, animating just how I wanted to. And I think in the case of 3D, it's actually better to animate things a little bit slowly and then speed them up in After Effects if you have to. You can get much better results. Thank you. This is also something you can do with MoGraph. I don't have time to really jump into that, but you can get a similar result using the MoGraph module and some of the effectors. But in this case, I was very particular about how I wanted things to animate on. I wanted some stuff to go on this side. I wanted some stuff to animate this way. So hand animating it was the solution for me. I wanted to give a quick shout out to a script that was just released recently. I did this a year ago before the script was released, but there's someone who calls himself Roan, and he created a script that you can find a tutorial on thepixellab.net. That's Jordan Kendall. And basically, this is the end of me playing around with this script. If I play it, you can see I'm getting a similar effect here with the polygons folding. You get this little tag. You get this, I think this is probably Python that's creating this tag. And you get an option here to unfold objects, and you can animate this parameter. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to thepixellab.net, and there's a great tutorial on how to set this up. So next, we're going to jump into the F. The F was much easier. I'm just taking the erector set piece that I already built with the screws here. And I am using the display tag to have things come on and animate. Just the screws are just kind of screwing into the F here. I'm using the F as an extruded object as a guide. And when I add more of these, I can just offset the animation very easily in the timeline over here. I can click on each piece, and I can just move these keyframes by dragging them and moving them around this way. And I basically just played around until I got the look I wanted. The next piece was the eye. And the eye was basically just made of these little gear pieces here. That was created with another extrude NURBS, a spline, and added an extrude NURBS, which once again you could find under Create NURBS, extrude NURBS. The next step was to get these guys cloned, and again, it's very easy to clone objects, to create multiple versions of objects in Cinema 4D by using the MoGraph object. So I'll go to MoGraph, Cloner, hold down Option, and instantly I get 3 clones. I can increase these clones by clicking on the cloner object and just increasing the number here. I can change the distance and the offset right here if I want to. But we already had this kind of set up how I wanted. I have this extruded eye here basically as something for the pieces to fall into. And that's what's going to happen in this next scene. All the pieces fall in, and this little guy falls out. I basically just had them drop in a number of different ways until I got the look I wanted. And turned off the logo by just adding a compositing tag again and turning off Scene by Camera. And let's take a look at all these pieces together, the entire AFI logo. This is the scene with everything placed together with lighting, texturing. Not playing in real time, of course. But that's essentially the look I was going for. And that's pretty much it for me. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming, and thanks to those of you tuning in online. Again, my name is Dave Glanz. I work at iCandy in DC, and I'll be over here if you have